2021 forecasting for each individual rising sign. I would just like to start with a general overview. And I'd also like to start by thanking the Almighty God for protecting us and helping us through 2020, as He will continue doing for us moving forward. Now we will see a shift towards more online schooling, shopping with the North Node in Gemini, as we've seen happening already in 2020, including most forms of communication, trade, other businesses and online businesses will become the norm. Cash will be less heard of, and eventually moving more towards the past and digital forms. So for most of 2021, we could be experiencing some uncomfortability as we have a difficult square aspect in the sky between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus, both fixed signs that don't really want to budge, and both are co-rulers of this beautiful Aquarian age that we're moving into now. And they are not in a harmonious conversation, and therefore we can expect that this is going to take more work and will take more time before the idealistic Aquarian age can be reached, so to speak. We will have to contend with much more restrictions of our freedoms. We'll have to contend with restrictions that will include freedom of speech on all platforms, probably, information, the internet, separation, probably new legislation in regards to aviation in general and flying. Of course, a lack of privacy goes with tracking, as well as alliance integration. And really it is the old versus the new, and we will see many rebel and stand up for their rights, and we'll also see a lot of disciplinary action and fining throughout the year. It's very much an order out of chaos energy, so I don't want to pretend like this is going to be this amazing year. Of course, there will be blessings. It's very seldom in life where we only have good or only have bad. There's always a mixture of the two, and it'll all depend on how we approach our obstacles. We'll be forced to be more creative and to find new possibilities and to connect to the higher vibration of God. We will probably learn to live more moment to moment and to really appreciate the little things, to appreciate the family, our family that's around us that we normally take for granted. And it will be good for us to stay in gratitude of the things that we do have and do the best with what we can and what we do have, and to focus on nature and on the sunrise, to remind yourself that God is still in control and that the truth is steady and secure. And as long as you're rooted in the truth, nothing can sway you, and it doesn't matter what your circumstances or reality look like, you know where your roots are. So that will be very important throughout the year. And we will be moving towards living much lighter and more flexible. It will be wise to be prepared, and also to really look where you can be of service and of help in the community as well, and how people can help each other. I recently saw in Marketplace a lady that started a group that just basically gives things away. So it's people that maybe they didn't lose their job, and they still have an income and they're still okay, but they have maybe some children's shoes that they don't need anymore, and instead of selling them, they're donating them, or they're just posting it and someone can come pick it up, hey, I've got a size 7 this or that. And people are really starting to come together and help each other out, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of that. And your currency is really going to become your talents and skills and the things that make you unique. And if you can sew something and someone else can build something, and you can trade services and you can trade things, we're going to see a lot more of that happening going forward. We'll see a lot of ups and downs, like I've said in my previous video as well, of the financial world. We're looking at a global recession for a long time. This is also a time where we will become more aware of each other's similarities and connectedness than each other's differences. And we will be more focused on our purpose and the contemplation of the deeper meaning of life and the deeper side of life. And that'll be more the order of the day. And Jupiter will bring in much learning and also guidance from above to help us navigate through this grief period of the loss of the familiar. And it will allow us to tap into the Creator's energy and make lemonade out of lemons. And through that, we will establish amazing connections with like-minded people, with our Creator, and there will be much spiritual blessings coming from this year going forward. So let's begin with your individual rising signs 2021 forecasting. Welcome, Libra rising, sun or moon. Please listen to your rising sign first, as this will give you the most accurate placement in the forecast. Now let's have a look at your 4th house, where Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008 and will be until 2023. Now this is a long transit, but through this transit there is a permanent change that appears in the area of your 4th house. Now the 4th house deals with domestic affairs, it deals with property, it deals with your home mainly and your family, your parents. It can deal with inheritance, it can deal with the grave as well. And during a long transit like this, at some point, issues from your childhood could come up and reappear or be triggered in some way. But through this, it will help you to understand the effect that these events might have had on you. And you will become ready to transform those wounds. And as I call it, turning darkness into light, and really begin to understand how it's affected you in your life now. And inward changes will begin to occur because of this transit. Now, at times you can find that your behavior might be childish because of these subconscious patterns and things that come up in your behavior. And this will be part of you being able to recognize when it is triggered, and giving you an opportunity to dig deeper and find out why you are still reacting in this way. Now, in your physical home life, there can also be huge changes with this transit, like the place you live in, like a huge change, from like the city to the desert, or or like something huge like that, or the circumstances in regards to your home life can change considerably. It can also mean that you're doing like a complete breakdown and rebuild of your house, or your house can be in rebuild or repair mode in some way, or you're maybe redoing parts of it or redecorating parts of it. Sometimes it can be an indicator of divorce, death, separation, depending on other things going on in the chart as well. But your relationships in regards to family or maybe parents could also change. The nature of your relationship with your relatives. It can be that you want to break away from them, or that there's some kind of power struggle. There's a chance that maybe you feel like they're still having a strong hold on you. So there's different ways that this can actually manifest, but at the end of the day, this is a period of tremendous growth and change for you in this way. And it can sometimes start out more on the difficult side, but it will end up in your best interest. And then let's have a look at Neptune. That's been in Pisces since 2011-12 to 2025 in your 6th house. Now your 6th house deals with your health. It deals with pets. It deals with tenants, if you have any, caretaking. If you have a business, it can be your employees or people that work under you in your place of work. It can be medical professionals, uncles and aunts, duties and responsibilities, and pretty much your everyday routines and so forth. Now with Neptune here, you will definitely be much more spiritually attuned in your everyday life. And just be aware that with Neptune here, you can separate from reality at times and sort of feel like you're in a bit of a haze or in a dream world. Also, this can sometimes, depending on other transits supporting this, it can sometimes indicate illness or even allergies to or susceptibility to toxins, and maybe allergies or the use of drugs and alcohol, poisons you have to be careful of. So also, for example, when you're cleaning your house and you're using a lot of chemicals, you want to be careful of that. Maybe check that you're using more organic, natural cleaners, more water and vinegar and so forth. Now, you can sometimes with this transit have sort of a different kind of method of nutrition or hygiene, or want to abstain from certain things. Like some people will become vegan, or some will suddenly go on a very serious keto diet or something like of the sort. So you might have, or even just strange kind of habits that's not really maybe normally you, or it might just be strange to others. Can sometimes occur with this transit. But there is a chance that you can be sort of misled through some of these types of diets. So just make sure that if it's something very strange, like only eat this for so long, make sure that you are still getting the proper nutrition that you need. And so don't follow the instructions blindly. Just do your own research as well. This can also indicate social work or working in a hospital or with the poor or with the needy. or those suffering from maybe alcoholism or drug abuse or something like that. In some cases, if you are diagnosed with an illness or you need to get something checked out, make sure that you maybe get a second opinion with Neptune here, as Neptune can sometimes hide things, or the symptoms can be taken as for something else. So it's good to get second opinions and really double check your findings. But during this transit, you will be working not just for your own selfish advancement in your workplace, you'll also be working in order to serve everyone. Sometimes Neptune here can bring misunderstandings at work, or with fellow co-workers, or with the people that I've mentioned in connection with this house. So just be careful of, make sure your communication is clear, and that you're not getting involved in anything dishonest at work, in anything, that you're not being misled into something dishonest. All right, let's have a look at Uranus. Uranus will be in Taurus and is in Taurus since 2018, and it will be there until 2026. And Uranus is in your 8th house. Now, your 8th house deals with the tax collector. It deals with wills and alimony and debts. It deals with losses. Sometimes it can indicate death, injury, surgery. It can also be trauma from the past, that's left deep wounding. It can be your spouse's income or shared income with a business partner or a marriage partner or a joint business endeavor. And it can also be your intimacy. Now, with Uranus here, you will have more of a practically innovative mind, and your tendency will be more utilitarian. But this is a very powerful transit on a subconscious level, and it can be filled with fateful events, unexpected, sudden, fateful events with Uranus in this house. And there is a end of the old and the beginning of a new with Uranus in this area. So usually there's a profound inner change that happens in this case, and it can sometimes be brought about someone close to you's death, or even just someone that you don't know that has a profound effect on you, and you start questioning the meaning of life more, and it just takes you to a deeper level. And with Uranus here, if there's any restrictions imposed on you in this area of maybe shared resources, or maybe, if you have a bank account with a partner, and the partner wants you to kind of rein it in a bit, and you might not feel like doing that at this time. You might feel intolerable to other people's restrictions over you in this area. And this can sometimes indicate, or it can be vice versa situation, of course, as well. But you'll be intolerant to someone else really telling you what to do here. Now, this can indicate a change in your partner's income. It can sometimes indicate inheritance if other transits support this. Financially, there can be instability with Uranus and Taurus, and especially in the 8th house as well. Your spouse's source of income could change, or maybe investments these sources can change. But this is not a good time to depend on anyone else for money or for financial support or any type of security. Not even a bank. This is a time where you can sometimes maybe just suddenly feel like breaking a contract or you know, stopping a shared investment or a shared account with someone. It can sometimes bring on you wanting to get rid of debt and just suddenly paying off all your debt. Or you could rebel and decide, you know, I'm not paying this. You get this bill and you're just like, no, I'm not doing it. With this transit, you can also experience a huge transformation in your intimacy life, your intimate life. This can sometimes indicate huge changes in your relationships, your close relationships. And if you meet anyone new in this time, a new relationship, it can sometimes be a bit volatile in the sense that it's not really certain or stable. So it might not be something that's very long term. It might be very exciting and intense, but it might not be long term. But there is always that possibility, of course, but just be aware of that. And then Saturn will be in Aquarius in your 5th house as of December 2020 until 2023. And your 5th house deals with your children. It deals with pregnancy, love affairs. It deals with politics, creative projects, fun, sport, entertainment, the theater, an advisor, a lover, and so forth. Now with Saturn here, your personal detachment heightens a bit more. You're less emotional here, and you're more objective in this area. And your thinking will be more unconventional as well, maybe in the way that you raise your children, or that you approach love or romance, or the way you approach creative projects now, or have fun. You might have unusual ideas of things that you want to do now. Maybe try things that bring back memories from your childhood, like nostalgic activities of some sort even. Now with Saturn here, there's also group learning through either being part of a group or not a part of a group, or being accepted by a group or not being accepted by a group. It's also a period where you will most likely learn how to express yourself the best during this transit. And you will probably want to work in a more organized manner with this transit. Most of the things that you might choose to do for fun or for relaxation will include things that can actually teach you something. Something that's practical, that you know could be needed for the future. You could even be doing that with your children and wanting them to watch things, say on YouTube, that teaches them about nutrition, or watch shows that is actually educational in some way and teaches them something, instead of just watching mundane, amusement. So you might find that you might not come across as fun to others as much, and you might not be doing as many fun things with Saturn in this area. You'll be a bit more serious with this transit. But you'll be learning a lot by interacting with others. Sometimes this can indicate a heavier responsibility in regards to your children. If there is a love affair in this transit, it can be someone that's much older, or you could be the older one to someone younger. Or this could be a mental thing of wisdom itself. But any emotional encounter or relationship that is touched in this area, like with children or with a partner, will be a growth experience. Sometimes this can indicate distance between you and children, or even an emotional distancing if it's not a physical one. Sometimes it can indicate children getting ill. And during this transit, you would be better off to not try and gamble or take gambling risks. And sometimes it can also indicate you giving form to your own project, or something that you are starting on your own, like a business endeavor, whether it's something creative that you're doing at home, like whether you're writing a book, or whether you're, working on a sculpture, or starting a business in regards to maybe making your own cosmetics and selling it on Etsy, or jewelry or something like that. Anything that you are giving form to yourself, your own creation, so to speak. This can be a time where you're putting a lot of work into that foundational part of giving this effort life. Now, Jupiter will be in Aquarius in your 5th house as well in December 2020, and it'll be in Aquarius until about the 20th of November of 2021. It'll briefly go into Pisces around May and June, and then it'll retrograde back into Aquarius. Now, while Jupiter is in your 5th house, which is again where Saturn goes as well. So for that first entry of Saturn into that 5th house, Jupiter will be there as well, which will be very beneficial in unusual ways for you. You will also not feel as inclined to impose your beliefs onto others, and you'll be more inspired toward tolerance, also within as far as disciplining your children and so forth. You'll be more inclined to express yourself authentically and with more confidence and without fear. Your creativity will expand tremendously, and it can improve your relationship with others, especially the people related to that house as well, like your children, like a partner, an advisor, and so forth. This can also indicate a child that makes you proud of something, some kind of achievement there. And with this transit, you can usually produce a lot more work. You can sometimes make a lot more money in regards to crafts and so forth. It can indicate interaction in regards to foreign affairs of some kind. But you won't be as hidden from the world with this transit. You'll be more expressive and wanting to express yourself and what you stand for. Sometimes it can indicate an overbearing manner, so just be aware of that, but you'll definitely be much more self-assured. And then Jupiter will be in Pisces around May and June, and this will intensely expand your kindness and compassion, also in regards to your children. Just be careful of freeloading and being taken advantage of financially as well as just your time and kindness. Because with this transit, you can tend to be quite self-sacrificing. But there will be a lot of personal growth here. This is very good for your health, because this will be, this is a healing transit. Just be careful of overindulgence and foods that can affect the liver and the pancreas, like a lot of sugar and so forth. This can also sometimes indicate adding weight, because this is a growth transit, where things tend to grow, like our bodies when we eat too much. At times, demands as far as work, your everyday routines, duties and responsibilities can feel a bit overbearing, and can feel like it's conflicting with your own personal growth. But your work will be much more fulfilling during this time, and more purpose-filled and more enjoyable. So this will be a more enjoyable time, even if there is more to do. And there will be blessings coming out of this. You'll be learning from whatever you're doing and feeling very satisfied with this transit. It can improve your job area. It can improve your position, the amount of money that you make. Maybe the type of work that you're doing is just more enjoyable. It can be really great for self-esteem and to build up a good reputation with your coworkers and your boss. So that's overall a really beautiful placement for you. Well, let's have a look at Mars. Now, Mars will be entering Taurus on the 7th of January in your 8th house. And with this transit, your determination will strengthen, your practical direction and sense of ambition will be stronger. Your sex drive will be more enhanced, and you will be experiencing more deeper intimacy with your close relationships. You might have a more of a selfish touch to your ego in regards to shared resources. So just be aware of that. Be willing to see other people's views and opinions, and take also their feelings into consideration. Someone can come into your life that's already in your life that has a very powerful effect on you with this transit. Sometimes there can be conflict in regards to possessions or shared resources, and you have to maybe modify some things. Sometimes it can be like a married couple that are disagreeing on how to spend their money and on what to spend it on, and there's some arguing there. Sometimes this can indicate financial instability, or being very impulsive, maybe with investments or with debt, making debt, or something like that. And this is not usually a recommended time to try for a loan. Now, while Mars is in the 8th house, it will conjunct Uranus as well during its transit, and at that time there can be sudden changes in the area of shared resources, or in your spouse's income, or your spouse's money, or source of income. There can be anger outbursts in regards to shared finances, loans, debts, taxes, alimonies, inheritance, settlements, and things like that. There can be outbursts in regards to possessions. And of course, then there would be consequences. So be very careful of your staying in control of your emotions during this time. And then Mars will enter Cancer, your 10th house, on the 23rd of March. And your 10th house deals with career. It deals with your reputation, it deals with your employment, your status, it deals with notoriety, professionals like your boss, it deals with cousins, it deals with a mother or a father, and so forth. Now with Mars here, you can be overly emotional and not as objective. It can sometimes indicate conflict with a parent or with a superior at work. But it arouses your ambition to achieve with this placement. And if there is a project that you are really passionate about, you'll be able to really put your heart and soul into it and work really hard towards it with this transit. You might feel like you want to work more independently with this transit, or maybe you decide you'd rather work for yourself or work alone. It will be in your benefit to do that because you are a bit more short-fused with this transit. It can sometimes bring in conflict with a boss. Because with Mars here, you might not like authority over you so much. But you'll have great progress in your work, and that's a really huge benefit. And then Mars will be opposing Pluto while it's in the 10th house, and Pluto's in your 4th. So this can bring in a resistance between work and home. It can sometimes be a culmination of persistent effort, but regardless, it's some kind of a power struggle. And sometimes this can bring in some disregard towards others, whether it's you or the other party. And it's important that whatever transpires here, if it is something very serious, that you get assistance with it and not go at it alone. And then Mars will be in Leo in your 11th house by the 11th of June. And with Mars here, your drive is much stronger. Your urge to succeed is more magnified. And you'll be more inclined to formulate goals and actively pursue your dreams and your goals. You're basically working towards the future here. It can indicate you having to work in some kind of group effort or a team of some kind. And it might not be as comfortable for you to do that at this time because Mars tends to want to rather do things their own way or by themselves. So it's important to balance out your needs and their needs and your views and their views so that you can get along easier. Sometimes it can indicate that you're looking to maybe hire people for a team, and you're looking for the right people to fill these spaces. Sometimes it can bring in conflict in groups and membership areas or alliances that you belong to, political parties, friends, co-workers. So just be aware of that and realize that you just need to be a little bit more cooperative. But one of the really good activities for this transit is group sport, because it can also really help you to bond with others if you tend to struggle to get along with them on a different level. And then Mars will oppose Saturn during this placement at some point, and this can sometimes slow you down physically. It can sometimes indicate illness or some kind of separation or distancing emotionally as well. It can sometimes indicate some form of discipline or restriction, maybe in regards to, your children as well, because Saturn will be in your 5th house. But it is a good time to really focus on work. It's very good for concentration. But it can sort of be a bit of a frustrating aspect in the sense that, Mars kind of wants to go and Saturn is saying no or slow down, not so fast, and so forth. And then Mars will be in Virgo, your 12th house, by the 29th of July. And your 12th house is about endings. It's about seclusion, separation, hospitals, for example. It's about faraway places. It can be music or poetry. It's dreaming, it's sleeping. It can be self-sabotaging habits. It can sometimes indicate grief or loss or depression. It's also the area of bed pleasures. Now, with Mars in this area in Virgo, your practical approach will be more orderly, and you'll be more detail oriented, and you might be a bit more worried and stressed with this transit. You might get dreams at night that sort of wake you up, and you might have trouble sleeping. Maybe a bit of a stomach ache from anxiousness and so forth. It can sometimes indicate working behind the scenes, or maybe working in a faraway place or in a hospital of some kind of care facility, even a jail, or maybe feeling that you are not getting the credit you deserve. With this transit, you can sometimes experience past behavior patterns that get activated and maybe is expressed in a not so nice way, or people don't understand you in how you are trying to express yourself at times. And that can make you feel like others are against you or something like that. So just be aware of that. So if you feel yourself in uncomfortable behavior patterns, try and find out where that is stemming from and where you can start to work with that, because Mars here also indicates working on subconscious issues from the past and working on forgiveness. This is a great transit for charitable work. It's also a great transit for working alone, so you'll be good working alone with this one. Sometimes it can indicate a loss of work or just worrying. This is a great transit for working on self-sabotaging habits, like health habits, like maybe drinking too much or eating too much sugar, and so forth. And self-critical patterns can be something also that gets triggered here, that needs to be broken. And then while Mars is here, it will oppose Neptune at some point. And this can at times indicate deception of some form, maybe in the workplace or with a tenant or an employee, or an uncle or an aunt, or even a medical professional of some kind. It can indicate illness sometimes, or just a loss of energy. Or you can just maybe feel a bit discouraged as far as work and your everyday routines are concerned, or your health is concerned. So be careful of escapism. Try and stay positive. Talk to someone if you need to. But you'll be sleeping better here. And then Mars will be in Scorpio. It's October 30th. In your second house. And your second house is your income. It's your movable possessions. It's the money that you earn, your security. It's your values, how you value things, what you value, your inner values, your morals. It's your sense of safety, your resources. It can also be your talents and your ancestors. It can also be gains and investments, and also what you eat and what you say. Now with Mars here, your sex drive can be more intense. You can be more romantic and more touchy-feely with this transit. You might notice that you're eating much faster, or speaking faster, or speaking more aggressively. With this transit, it can sometimes suggest identifying with your possessions too strongly, and feeling that, what you possess and what you earn and where you live has to do with your actual personal worth. And so it's important to stay objective in regards to that and realize that that this is not the case. Your work will be more towards monetary gain and towards the future during this transit, most likely. It can sometimes indicate starting a new job or starting a new business. Be careful of wasteful spending, because there can be impulsive spending here. Your desire to own things can be stronger here. So be careful of impulsive purchases. And it can sometimes indicate using your own possessions for work activities or projects. But you'll be more likely to be defending your values and your beliefs as well. So just be careful of not being too aggressive with that. And while Mars is here, it will also oppose Uranus in your 8th house at some point. And this can also be a period of more intense impatience, explosive outbursts with anger in regards to possessions, shared resources, investments, that type of thing. Sometimes it can indicate surgery or sudden events in regards to financials. And sometimes this can also bring about accidents. So you just want to be extra careful during this transit. And then let's have a look at the retrogrades for 2021. Now, Mercury will be retrograding in all 3 air signs in 2021. And this really puts a stronger emphasis on the air element, as we're also moving into the age of Aquarius more officially now. And so there's a real emphasis on the mind and information and understanding and communication than before. Now, Mercury will be retrograding in Aquarius, which is your 5th house, January 30th to February 21st. And during this retrograde, you might restore the way you have fun. You might be changing the way that you see fun activities. Sometimes it can block your creativity in a way. So this is a good time to get inspired, to maybe make a list of things that you want to do and watch inspirational videos or listen to inspirational music or read some poetry and just sort of dream a bit more before you get to the actual time to put that into something manifested. Sometimes you can come across gossip with this transit that's untrue, so be aware of that. Sometimes you can be more, less social with this transit. It can sometimes bring back friends from the past or some kind of allegiance, membership that you belong to from the past, or issues in regards to that. And then Mercury will be retrograding in Gemini, your 9th house, May 30th till June 23rd. And during this retrograde, your beliefs might be challenged. And realize that it is okay to change your mind on what you believe or how you understand things as you grow and mature and as your understanding expands of the world around you and your connectedness to the spiritual world. This can also bring back or have you reassess relationships with family, friends, neighbors, siblings, or bring people like that back into your life physically or in memory in some way, where you are reflecting on and having a chance to heal and grow from past experiences with them. You'll want to make sure your communication is really clear, that you're double checking travel plans and paperwork and passports and things. Check the details. Be flexible that you can reschedule if unexpected events occur. And then Mercury will be retrograding in Libra, your first house, from September 27th to October 18th. And this is a time where you might re-examine how others see you or how you want others to see you. It can also have you reassessing your relationship with a close partner or a marriage partner or a business partner, and how you can be rethinking your finances, what you spend your money on, how you value things, your inner security, your looks, your beauty routine. You could be reassessing your love relationships and how balanced they are. Where's there too much give and too much take, and so forth. This is not a great time for contracts or agreements, or new affiliations. You want to focus more on being cooperative during this transit. It can sometimes bring up codependency issues. So use this as an opportunity to transmute that and to learn from this. But it's obviously important to be able to stay flexible, be as prepared as you can, be open to allowing yourself to change your mind during these events. And then, of course, like any other Mercury retrograde, you want to take into consider checking that your communication is more direct. If you're sending emails or messages, that they've gone through, that people really understand you, that you're really listening, that there can be disruptions with electricity or internet or banking apparatus, travel, mistakes in writing. It's not a wonderful time to buy electronics. It's easier to lose them or have them stolen. And it's also not a great time to do any beauty procedures, especially while Mercury is retrograde in Libra. And then let's have a look at Venus. Venus will be retrograding December 19th to January 29th in Capricorn. And this can bring up issues related to love and money. And old lovers can sometimes surface physically or mentally and have you rework some issues. But during this transit, this is in your fourth house. So your family values could be shifting, or you could be reevaluating them. You could be taking up a different approach in regards to your parenting, or even your relationship with your parents. You could be reassessing that. There could be a possible change of traditions here. Or you could be investigating your roots. Now, this is a good time to see what needs to change, really where your value system is. It's a good time to focus on cooperation in the family. You might be more inclined to make your home more beautiful or more comfortable. You might feel like redecorating, or doing something, or playing more music in the house, or painting it, thinking of putting in more color. It can also be a time where you're redoing furniture, or readjusting and reevaluating your family budget, or how much you want to spend on a house. And then Saturn will be retrograding. Oh no, let's go to Jupiter. My apologies. Jupiter will be retrograding June 20th to October 18th. And this is a period of inner spiritual growth and reflection. And this will be in your 5th and 6th houses. And this is usually a period where you make your own luck. You might be rethinking your health habits or work habits, or what you're earning at work, how meaningful your work is, or your daily routines are. You might be rethinking what you eat, and rethinking how you're disciplining your children. You might be looking at things in a more holistic sense. You might be more inclined to cut negativity from your life during this transit and make some time for fun. And with your kids too. You might want to spend more time with your kids and have some laughs with your kids. And I think this is very important, especially with Saturn that's sitting in your 5th house of fun, that this could be a real bright time for you in regards to bringing in some joy. And through this, there can be a lot of healing done in family relationships, as well as relationships with your children and the parent-child relationships and so forth. And there can be a lot of learning as well going on here. A lot of learning in regards to each other and from each other and through fun. You'll be probably much more creatively expressive as well, and be able to laugh more with this transit. And you might find yourself helping others more. So this could be a case where you could even be helping your children more with their homework and studying as well. And then Saturn will be retrograding May 23rd to October 11th. And this will be in Aquarius in your 5th house. And Saturn reminds us of the realities of life, the aspects of life that we cannot avoid. For example, taxes, responsibilities, karma, the length of life, time itself, responsibilities, restrictions, and so forth. And it's usually a time for restructuring and planning. And in the case of it being here in your 5th house, sometimes an old friend can reappear in your life in some way or another. Maybe someone from a group or some political affiliation or some kind of group from the past can come up for some reason. Sometimes this can bring in a child, or an older child can maybe move back home for a while for some reason. And it can sometimes indicate that there has been a lot more responsibility in that area of your life in regards to creative projects that you may be building on, children and responsibilities in regards to children and so forth. And it might have felt like you have done more than enough, and you sort of cannot take as much of the heaviness anymore. And this is a time where you want to set new boundaries, so that there can be a more holistic environment, and so that you're not a doormat. Sometimes this can indicate an illness, either for yourself or maybe even children. But it's a time where you'll be rethinking how you discipline your children, how you spend time with your children, what you're spending your time on, your free time, what you're thinking about in the terms of joy. You'll be rethinking creativity probably, and investments even, and so forth. And then there will be 4 eclipses in 2021. There will be a lunar eclipse on the 26th of May in Sagittarius in the 3rd house. And I'm not going to be going into the details of these eclipses, as there's just too much to look at this time. But during the year, I will be going into them, so you can check out those videos. And this lunar eclipse in general is usually some kind of culmination of something, an ending, a completion, something coming to a head or to a fruition, or something that you're finishing up. And of course, with an eclipse, there's an influence of about 6 months to a year, depending, and there's a lot of things to take into consideration. But give it at least about a 6-month mark, in a sense of what is being completed, and that something that's being completed in that area of your life. And in this case, it can be in regards to maybe a short course that you've been taking, or a language that you've been learning, or some form of communication that you've been working on, maybe writing. It can have something to do with schooling, teaching. It can be a decision that's been made, or an understanding as well. It can be in regards to a relationship with your siblings or relatives, or even neighbors, or a teacher. And it can even be in regards to a skill, maybe finishing, learning a certain skill, like maybe a hairdressing certificate, or, some kind of mechanical trade in regards to travel or vehicles of some kind. It can also sometimes indicate maybe a means of transportation that you're usually using for maybe your everyday use, or getting to work, or your route has changed, or your neighborhood. Maybe you're moving out of your neighborhood, or you're going to be working in a different neighborhood, or some of your daily schedules and routines. Maybe you're just changing your daily environment in a way. It can also be something to do with the media, social media. Maybe you're quitting Facebook or something like that. And then the 10th of June, there will be a solar eclipse in Gemini in your 9th house. And this is usually new beginnings or new intentions that you set for that area of your life, or a new leaf that you're turning over, or a new inspiration or idea in regards to that area of your life. And in this case, it can sometimes mean a new course of study, maybe a new university, a new understanding of something that you've been struggling to really absorb. It can be a new teacher, it can be a travel opportunity, or a wanting to take a trip, or maybe a new business in regards to foreign affairs that includes something maybe with imports and exports, or it can be a relationship with someone far away, or a foreigner of some kind, someone that speaks a different language. It can be a huge beginning, and as far as intellectual stimulation in some area, and some area of study that you want to go deeper into. It can be a huge spiritual revelation that comes to you in a dream, or in a very, very spiritual way. Sometimes it can be legal work or paperwork, maybe even immigration paperwork, or paperwork in regards to travel that needs to be started, and so forth. And then the 19th of November, there will be a lunar eclipse in Taurus, your 8th house. And with lunar eclipses, there is usually some kind of culmination or fruition of some kind. And this can be the ending of a joint endeavor, a joint investment, or a joint account, some kind of money that you get from others. It could be alimony that's not available, or some kind of government assistance, or something that you can't depend upon any longer, or that you by choice decide to change and not share anymore, and where you're sort of releasing control in a way. It can maybe even be something like child support or anything shared with someone else. It can be the ending of your partner's income or your partner's source of income, and so forth. And then there will be a solar eclipse in Sagittarius, your third house, on the 4th of December. So this is the third house again. So this is the area that's hit twice for you this year. So this is a house that's being emphasized, your third house. And this is also now an area where before it was more of a completion in that area. This is now a new beginning in that area, or a fresh start, or a fresh idea. Maybe you decide you want to buy a new vehicle, or you want to change where you live or who you hang out with every day, or there's a new leash on your relationship with a sibling or with a relative or a neighbor. Maybe you are buying something new, or deciding to start a new skill or learn a new language, or you're ready to sort of make some decisions in this area, write a certain letter or communicate to someone, connect. But it can be a new intention in regards to that area and how you communicate, and also in regards to how you understand and think, and how you organize your life, and how you express yourself in terms of language and relationship skills. And then for most of the year, there'll be an uncomfortable square between Uranus in Taurus, your 8th house, and Saturn in Aquarius, your 5th house. And these are two stubborn fixed signs that don't really want to budge. So this can create intense tension between freedom and restriction, and authority and free will, and the old and the new, and so forth. And this is your 8th house and your 5th house. So this can be areas in regards to spending money on your children, or financials in regards to fun activities, or some kind of self-started business, or and shared resources, or maybe banking or taxes and related to that, or debt of some kind, or owing something in some kind. So this will be something collectively that everyone will be dealing with in their own way, and also in the same way depending on where you are. But for you, it will be mostly probably felt in these two houses. And then what I would recommend for you is the Bergamont essential oil for use during 2021, as well as the Citrine crystal. The Citrine crystal is wonderful for dissipating negative energy, and instead transmutes it, working out problems on both physical and subtle levels. It's also sometimes considered a merchant's stone, as it's said it's good to put in one's cash box. It helps with deciding better and organizing your financials better, also your trade. It's also a wonderful stone for better communication and professionalism in regards to, say, for example, work, and those that you deal with on an everyday level. Bergamont essential oil has so many amazing benefits, but one of them that I love is it can help with depression. It can help with enhancing metabolism. It helps relax the body. It can even reduce fever, and it can be very good for menstrual cramping. It's antibacterial, and it eases anxiety. So it's got tons of wonderful healing properties as well. I will be leaving a link in the description box below for what I consider to be some of the world's best sourced essential oils. But I'm not giving you any medical advice. Please make sure you check out your own contraindications for everything. And you can, of course, use this in a diffuser or mix it with a carrier oil, and so forth. Well, Libra, I want to thank you for allowing me to guide you through 2021. May God bless you and keep you, and may the sun shine bright on you this day and year.